Hello again, everybody. It is Monday night. I say night, it's about 7 p.m. I'm just doing little bits and pieces in the evenings now to sort of keep chipping away at the project, really. I've just cut and folded a section to go in here. Let's see if I can make that light not quite so bright. When I watched some of the videos back, the silver reflects the light and makes the camera react funny and not work so well. It's not very good at the contrast between the dark and the light, and I don't have a viewfinder, so God knows what this looks like at the moment. But anyway, last time I put that patch in there, and I did this side first because I didn't want the alignment to get messed up by whatever I put in there. But now I need to fill that hole, so I've just chopped a piece of steel out of that bit down there, folded it, and then done some rough sanding so that that will sit in there on top of my stitch welds, and I can, again, I'm not going to bother seam welding it, I'm just going to do some stitches because it's not super structural, although it would have been one whole piece originally. I'm not that bothered, it's just a waste of time and weld wire and gas, so I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to weld that in there. Then once that's in place, I'll knock this panel out till it touches, clamp it, plug weld it, and then I'll cut along there to get my finished final shape for the window seal. Speaking of window seals, oh, banged my head. I've now got, these aren't the ones that came off the car, these I got off my mate Simon for a tenner. Unfortunately, I didn't realise they were tweaked and damaged, but basically Dotty never had these chrome finishes. It was just like naked on the rear quarters. There should be chrome across the top of the door wastes like this, continuing all the way through to the rear of the car like that. So I've got those bits now. I've got one brand new old stock window seal, still with its sticker on, so that's good. That is for the near side. I just need to buy the one for the... No, that must be the offside one. Yeah, so I've got offside, I need to buy near side. I also need to buy the rivets and clips that hold the trim to the side of the car, but that's for another day. What I'm going to do now is go and find a jumper and then weld that bit in. Suitably fashionable jumper obtained. I didn't clean the paint off here so well, so I'm just going to have to weld it and hope it burns through. No, that is not going to work. Lame. I was trying to do it speedy, but I'm going to have to do it manual, boring way. Safety squint. You get the idea. This isn't going so well. Put you over here because you're in the way. It is very hot, especially when you're wearing a jumper. Right, so I've done a big nasty blob there where I burnt a massive hole. I had to fill it in. A stitch. I got carried away with that bit because it was welding so nicely. I just carried on until I couldn't see. Then I did another stitch there, and then I smashed it up to meet this bit. Now I'm going to get a clamp that, plug weld it, plug weld that bit. And then I might come back and seam weld that actually, because it was welding quite nice once I'd got the heat in there. And access is better now because I've obviously hammered that flange forward. Just put some clamps in just to close those panels together, and I'll plug weld them. That's enough welding. I have finished seaming that in there. It's really chuffing hot at the moment. I'm going to get the saw, chop through there, then I'll sand those off, and I'll give it a little bit of a tickle in there, and then I'll probably call it a night. Ta-da! Done that. It ain't pretty, but it's well, it's in. Another bit jobbed. Next time we'll be doing that a bit. That's all been hydrate 80'd. I just need to go and cut a section from the car outside. How I end up repairing this, I don't know. When the panel is made, there are 2 or 3 sections here. One goes from this seam here all the way over the top, then down and in, and is plug welded to here, and then this rain gutter is plug welded on top of that. I got 2 options. One is I drill out all the plug welds on the panel outside and separate the gutter from the back panel, then I put the back panel in, and then I plug weld the gutter back on. That's probably the best way of doing it, but it will be time consuming. So whether I can find a faster way of doing it, which would involve welding in there, but then the cleanup operation to get that smooth and to weld that with decent penetration would be almost impossible. So I think as I'm talking, I'm recognizing that I will in fact need to do the boring, laborious task of separating the gutter rail first, repairing that bit, putting the gutter rail back on. Anyway, that's fun for next time. Good evening. Right, so I've just spent most of the morning playing with the 420. Some good things, some bad things. Not actually bad, but just annoying niggles. The rest of the weekend, I am intending to devote to Dotty. I'm so far behind my own self-imposed schedule. It's not funny, just life is busy. So that I did, this I need to do. So without further ado, I'm saying a lot of ados, I'm going to go mark up how much I need and start chopping up the panel outside. And again, it's not going to be fully documented. I'm just going to dip in and out as I do different jobs around the car. I wasn't going to show all the stages, but I thought I might as well. Only take a second. It's really handy that this thing has never been painted, because you can actually see where all the plug welds are, all the spot welds. So I've just centre popped them. Then I'm going to drill them with my spot weld drill, because the panel behind I also want to keep. So I'll drill these out first, put a bit of pressure on it, cut through there, and then chop the whole panel out and then leave the two apart on the workbench, I think. That's that bit cut out. The plug welds drilled most of the way through. Now I'm going to put it in the vise and just rock it backwards and forwards, and hopefully it'll just break apart. That's my plan. Whether that's got anything to do with reality, I guess we'll find out in a minute. Will that work? I don't really want to distort this, which is why I'm not smashing it with a chisel. Yeah, it might have to get a bit brutalized. I have had to resort to the chisel, but because most of them are broken out, because I could drill them so accurately, they're coming off okay without too much bendage, which is what we wanted. So I shall continue with my wiggling and poking. I've trimmed that to size and shape, and when it's pushed in it fits really nicely. Put my plug weld holes in. I've left it slightly long, and then I'll sand back when it's finished. I might even tap it up with a hammer, I'm not sure, but I'm going to tack that in, make sure the alignment's right, and then weld it in nicely afterwards. So I've just tacked it in a few places and I'm happy where it is. I've got the welder turned up actually quite high for the type of welding I'm doing, because this is thin metal, but I want really good penetration in there. So you can see there how that's gone into that gap that I've deliberately left, and I'm happy that once that's ground smooth it will still be strong. The other benefit of having joined it in here is that when I do grind it, I probably won't do it to a full invisible repair, because the gutter goes on top and then there's actually a bead of seam sealer all the way along. So what I can do is in this area just make the bead a little bit taller, smooth it out, and you'll never see this weld repair, hopefully. So that's the plan. So I'll get good penetration in there, lots of heat. It won't warp because we've got lots of curves, and then at the end I'll nip it back. I won't go crazy, and then hopefully it'll all be invisible anyway. Right, that is all cleaned up. I did what I said I wouldn't do, which was actually ground it smooth, but I'm happy that that's all solid. So that's all in there now. There's a couple of holes here which I'll fill in. They just need to be done before the gutter rail trim goes back on. That is of course this piece, so that needs a final clean up and trim, and then that can all be welded in together. I'm going to go and have some lunch now because it's probably about lunchtime. Back from lunch, that's that bit trimmed up ready. Need to clamp it on and weld it. I've had a bit of a fail. You might have seen me turning the grinder on and off with a hammer. That's because I dropped it and broke the switch. It's now completely fucked, and that's annoying because that's a brand new, well, it's not brand new, but it's not that old, so that's a shame. What have I done? Yeah, welded that in, ground it all smooth. I haven't gone crazy because this all gets hidden by a rubber seal anyway, or most of the way up. I have to remind myself. So pretty much up into there. So that is up to there. So I might have to put a tiny bit of filler in some of this, but it should be okay. I've taken some time to try and get the alignment of that bit right. Reason being, this card doesn't have them, and neither does that one, but they should have a stainless steel strip that goes all the way over the top. I don't know whether I actually got any, but my intention was never to refit them. But if somebody ever does, then hopefully they've got a chance of actually getting it to clip over nicely. I've cleaned up the bottom edge there, so it's all as it should be. There's a tiny little lip, and that's why I took some time to really grind that neatly. I say neatly, I still only used an angle grinder, but it's good enough if you're careful. And then inside here, I've done the same again with the angle grinder, neatened that up. It'll have a tiny bead of sealer in there, and then smoothed all the way along, and then painted or glossed, and then that should keep it nice and safe. I might also drip some paint in there now before it flash rusts. In a couple of bits you might have seen me using this piece of copper just held on the back side so I can weld it nicely and limit the amount of cleaning I needed to do. That is pretty much that bit done. So I'm going to move on to tidying up this bit now. I might actually have a tidy up of the floor, because part of the reason I dropped the grinder is because I trod on the cable and it pulled it off and smashed it, so it's my own fault. It's annoying though. I've had a bit of a tidy up, and then I've just had a bit of a look to remind myself exactly what was going on down here and what I needed to do. Two things really. They're actually separate areas, and there'll be two separate repairs. One is to finish off that bit. That's easy. I could do it in a number of ways, but I'll probably just chop that bit up outside, hack off as much of this as I need to get back to good metal and weld it on. I'm not even going to bother videoing that. It's such a piece of piss. This bit is slightly more complicated. I was never happy with where the rear of the arch lip terminated, so I never welded it. It's actually pretty good, but I do need to move this bit out to join onto that bit. That bit will all get plugged up, welded on, and then that bit gets closed up. And I was going to chop all of that off there. Sorry, I might have been pointing at the floor there. I might have chopped... start again. I was going to chop all of that off and make this in one piece, but I really don't think I need to. What I'm going to do is clean up this whole area, terminate that bit properly, then that will tell me the patch I need to put in here, and it should just be an easy sweep in like that, down onto that returny flange bit. Well, I've been having lots of fun down here. I've sanded through what was the remainder of the outer wing flange and got back to the original boot floor flange, which is pretty much mint, which is great. I have remembered that there was a bit of a repair to do in here, and that's why I hadn't terminated this area, so that needs a little bit more grinding in there to take that bit off. Then I'll chop a piece. That'll it'll be done first. Then I'll just terminate that back on, make a patch for there. It is raining and I've left loads of tools outside, so I'm going to have to go and do that now. Just a bit of a quick view from the top. I've trimmed that bit out now. You can kind of see how all the pieces go back together. The order is to do that one first, to close that bit off. Then I can build the outside up. The last bit I'm going to do a bit different from how it was done factory original. This inner part would have come down and I think would have been welded to the skin or the boot floor. I think it was the skin. either that or it was one of 3 pieces that were all sandwiched together in that bottom seam. Either way, I'm not doing it that way. I'm going to make the outer to the boot floor, make that all look pretty. Then this will be welded back onto there with a couple of stitches just to keep it all nice and stiff. And then that whole corner will be done. I might have to might have to actually stop now. I've just remembered I have to go and do something else today. So that's a bit frustrating, but at least I got that bit done. Turns out I don't have to go and do the thing that I thought I had to do. So I have made a piece of metal as a patch to go in there, like, wait a second, like so. So that's actually quite nicely fitted. If I could get my stupid hand out of the way. I say nicely fitted. It was looking beautiful before I switched the camera on. Now it's kind of binding up on something. Oh dearie me. But you get the idea. That's going to go in there like so. It will get pinched up underneath, so don't worry about that. It looks like that from that side. That bit sits on top like that. That's how it will go. So I'm going to weld that in now. Right, I'd forgotten I needed to drill 2 plug weld holes in the back of there to pick up on here, and I've also drilled one through the top there to pick up on that bit there, which is some kind of weird body jig locating bracket, but it looks original and it's undisturbed, so I'm keeping it, and it will all look factory fresh underneath. So that will go in like that, and now I'm going to weld it. Probably won't record it, just going to get it done. Got a couple of tacks in. Figured I might as well show the welding since I've shown a lot of the other processes. But this isn't going to be neat, this is just getting it done welding, and I haven't even bothered cleaning off, so apologies. outside pretty much done. We have to do these bits. They're just going to be clamped up and bodged. Not bodged, boshed. That's the plan. So that's those two done. Then we've got to do just a little seam of weld down there. Turn the welder back down a bit, I think. That'll do. So now this has been cleaned up, obviously I'll do that at the end, but yeah, that corner section's in now. That can be sanded off, that can be bent round onto there, buttoned up, welded. I'm not going to do that today because I have genuinely run out of time, but it's a good job. I'll come back tomorrow and do some more.